everybody? Welcome back to the Hoop Portal. Today, I'm joined with J Rob again. Thanks for being here, man. Just checking in on you. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's one of the best times of the year. I know, NBA season is a grind and it's a long one, but that first couple of games, first week of games, opening night, it's definitely you got that kid on Christmas type of feeling. So I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, you ready? Let's get into it. NBA,
Yeah.
we're going to start with Eastern Conference standings. We're going to go teams that we think miss the playoffs, our four play-in teams, the six teams that we think get through. We're going to go round by round breakdown, pick our NBA Finals representative out of the East, and then we're going to go to the Western Conference, do the whole thing all over again, hit our superlatives and our frisky teams who we think are going to pop off, and we've got some teams that we think are going to fall off. So here we go. Jacob, you want to go first? You're the
I
guest.
will. So I'm going to give you my 5 teams that I'm going to have as missing the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, and I'll start from worst record to then just missing the play-in. It's the Washington Wizards will be the worst team in the Eastern Conference. Still a couple steps away from true contention. Trey Johnson is a very exciting draft pick, and he's in a great role. There's reports out of Washington that he's the typical rookie, first one in, last one out, getting up as many shots as possible. They have a little bit of young, exciting talent, and we're still a couple steps away, but it's something to keep the eye on. I kind of like qualifying certain teams as like fun league pass teams. We have to get them from the basement, or even whatever below the basement is, to a fun young NBA league pass type of team. And they're just not there yet. But, I think in terms of putting butts in seats, I don't know how many fans Chris Middleton will get out in the DMV area. But bottom of the conference is definitely Washington. Chicago, and I think that this needs to be the year that the Chicago Bulls tank. I understand from an offensive efficiency standpoint, there are worse guards to have than Kobe White and Josh Giddey. I totally get that. But they've been in a really rough place, which is not good enough to compete for a championship, not good enough to be a top 5 team in the East, but not bad enough to get a top 3 lottery pick, top 5 lottery pick. And at a certain point, you have to decide when we're going to stop teetering back and forth between sometimes competitive in 2021 when they were looking like a 1 seed and then it faltered in the 6 seed. Sometimes we're a playing team. Sometimes we're not. And I think that they need to go in a hard direction one way or the other. Like they're the NBA New Orleans Saints, in my opinion, where you're kind of in a tough spot where you're not really competing, but you're not tanking. This year, we're seeing the Saints as most likely the future number 1 overall pick. And I think that that's what needs to happen with Chicago. Toronto Raptors after that, I don't mind Brandon Ingram having a long-term home. Grady Dick is exciting. Emmanuel Quickly, exciting. RJ Barrett, I get it. Really great coach, good foundation. But in the Eastern Conference, not yet. I'm waiting for a little bit more consistent play. This is supposed to be a big Scotty Barnes year. I know, this is a pro Scotty Barnes podcast. He's been really exciting ever since he entered the league. You've been on him heavy in terms of like a sleeper candidate to kind of take that next level up, so to speak. But not quite yet. After that, I have Charlotte, and I know you love your boys, the exciting whites, as I like to call the Charlotte Hornets. They are the Cooper DeJean of the National Basketball Association. And I love the draft that they had. One of the big storylines in the Eastern Conference this year for me is, can LaMelo Ball finally be that superstar? The offensive numbers are there. The games played aren't there. Defensively, I think they're going to be pretty bad. I don't really have a lot of hopes for them defensively. Ryan Kalkbrenner rim protection in 2025, probably not, but down the line, I think so. And Liam McNeely, I'm excited to see. This is the league pass team that I'm excited to watch. But I want to see Charles Lee take that next step. I want to see LaMelo Ball take that next step. Can we get something from Brandon Miller that is like, I don't know, sniffs most improved player, anything to that extent. And then I'd be willing to put Charlotte in the play-in, but Charlotte needs to take the step from the 15 to 25 win range. They need to start knocking on the door of that 30 to 35 win range, and they haven't. So until they do, I can't simply just blindly put them in the play-in off of one draft. And I hate to be so animated because I want the Hornets to do well. Like Charlotte needs basketball. And then the last team out in the Eastern Conference I have are the Brooklyn Nets. Cam Thomas and Michael Porter Jr. hoops in 2025? I don't think so. If I was a Brooklyn Nets fan, I'm tuning in to watch the both of them shoot 30 shots a game minimum. We're looking at, man, I don't know, there's going to be some nights where they're going to combine for 50 shot attempts from the field. And a couple young, exciting pieces. I don't know how sold I am on Danny Wolf being an NBA player. We could definitely touch on that if need be. But Brooklyn is going to be that last team out in my Eastern Conference.
Solid, solid. We don't differentiate a lot. I've got Washington at the bottom as well. They're going to be my 15 seed. 14, I've got the Nets. I'm right there with you. With I know 14. I think they're going to be. This is a situation. I
Yeah,
100% agree with
I
you.
can see it happen.
There's going to be nights where MPJ and Cam Thomas combined for 60 points. Like they're going to be a type of duo like that, but it's going to be inefficient. There's going to be no defense being played, and it's going to be a situation where they might go on like a 2-game, 3-game winning streak, and it's the highest up they are
Yep.
for the Nets this whole season.
You
I
saw
think
the
go ahead.
Cam Thomas. Did you see the Cam Thomas media day clip where they asked him if he was going to be more of a playmaker? He said, "I'm not changing my game for nobody."
There you go. But I respect that though. I respect that you're just honest with it. I respect
Yeah.
that you're honest with it. At 13, I've got the Bulls. So I'm kind of with you. I think there is a potential that Kobe White gets traded. I think he's someone that could absolutely help I almost said national champion. I'm too locked in on college hoops right now. He can absolutely be a player that can contribute to an NBA championship team, and I think in a very high volume way. Where he goes, who that's with, I don't really know. I secretly think though, if there's a way, I love this move so much. If there's a way, and I'm big on Kobe White because the UNC connection. He's literally probably one of my favorite Tar Heels ever, especially even just being there for a one and done. He's right there with Brady Manick. If he got to the Lakers, he's not Kyrie with Luka, but I think he could be Kyrie-esque with Luka Doncic and be a lot better piece next to him than someone like Marcus Smart or I can't do DeAndre Ayton because it's a completely different position. But
yeah, I know what you're saying.
that's how I view Kobe White. He's that good of a scorer. He's that good of a bucket getter. And if you put him next to someone I think like a Luka, and that's a trade that could easily be done where the Bulls might want to tank and say, hey, this is a match made for everybody. So Bulls 13, trade Kobe White, send him to LA, get Luka some help because I don't know what LeBron's going to do this year. Number 12, you're going to be mad. I've got the Pacers. I have the Pacers at number 12. I am completely out on this team this year. Bring in 26-27 NBA season. This is not the year for the Pacers. No Halliburton, no Miles Turner. They're going to play fast. They're going to get up and down the court. I just don't see them being able to have that same success. Even though I love Nembhard, I love that team that they put together. I think Rick Carlisle is one of the most underrated coaches in the NBA. Even going on another finals run last year, he's still not getting the credit and flowers I think he deserves. But I think this is a year where they understand this is just not it. Why try and go compete for a 10-11 spot if Tyrese is not going to come back and be healthy, which I don't think he is going to be able to play this year. It's different, I think, from Jason Tatum even having that almost, month and a half prior to his injury happening. I think there's levels to it. I think JT could come back. I don't think Tyrese is going to come back. That's why I've got the Pacers 12 and 11. I'm also out on this team. I don't like the vibes at all. Miami Heat. I don't think that they're going to, if they make a move, they could be a team that could jump from, I think, not making the playoffs to being a contender in the East. But they're going to have to make a big move, and they're going to have to do it, I think, by January. Honestly, probably around Christmas. Like, they need to get that done if they are going to do it. I don't know what the move looks like, but the way they're positioned right now and set up, I'm not big on the Heat for this season. That's it. That's the 5 teams I've got not making it. Is there any of those that you're just like, that is egregious?
Indiana Pacers, but I understand where you're coming from. And that segues into my play-in picks if you just want to go from there.
Hit it.
So the 4 teams that I have in the play-in this year, I have the Indiana Pacers, I have the Miami Heat. So I'm going 10 to 7,
right.
10, 9, 8, and 7. So at the 10 spot, I have Indiana. At the 9 spot, I have the Miami Heat. The 8 spot, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. And the 7 seed, I have the Boston Celtics. So with the Indiana Pacers, I would agree with your take if the head coach wasn't Rick Carlisle. I would also agree with your take if the 2 scoring options weren't Andrew Nembhard and Pascal Siakam. Pair that with Aaron Nesmith. I understand TJ McConnell's going to be coming back. I get that they don't have Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton. But the Indiana Pacers as a collective, including Tyrese Halliburton, was the reason why they got to the finals, is because the cast as a whole. Am I disrespectful for saying that I don't know how hugely detrimental of a subtraction Miles Turner is going to be? I love Miles Turner's game. He's going to be a good fit for Milwaukee. I have Milwaukee in the play-in because I don't buy the tank season, trade Giannis at the deadline. We'll get into that. But with Indiana, in the Eastern Conference, I still believe that there's enough pieces with Carlisle at the helm to where they'll get the last play-in seed. I know that the over-under for wins is set at like 38 and a half, 39 and a half. It's at the high 30s. I still think a team of professional basketball players with one of the best coaches in the league is going to get this team to the play-in. If I'm taking a look at the coaches in the Eastern Conference, my money is going to be on Rick Carlisle and Eric Spoelstra. And that's why I have the Miami Heat at the 9 seed. I get it. Tyler Hero's out for a little while, and this team is on life support. The Heat culture, facade, or whether or not it's accurate, grittiest team in the league. But the results don't lie. The one thing that I think works in Miami's favor, if you remember from last season, is they were one of the worst crunch time basketball teams in the NBA. You remember when Spo, I think, called that timeout, didn't have the timeout, got the technical, and then they ended up losing that game? Like, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but they blew a handful of 10-point, 15-point fourth quarter leads that contributed to a lot of the losses last season. Khalil Ware, Bam Adebayo, surely this cannot be, this cannot go as any worse than it already has gone for Terry Rozier from an overall standpoint this season. And I'm not saying Terry Rozier is a top 5 guard in the Eastern Conference, top 10 guard in the Eastern Conference, but I think that Miami and Indiana are going to grit their butts off to the play-in tournament. And I'm supremely confident that Indiana, even with the losses of Halliburton and Turner, Miami, even with Hero out, and it looking like the last of the Miami, Heat culture days, I still think they're going to get to the playoffs. And oh, by the way, they don't have to worry about Jimmy Butler anymore. Jimmy Butler's a heck of a talent. I have high hopes for Golden State this year. But from a distraction standpoint, it just went so bad for Miami last season with the crunch time losses, with Jimmy Butler, and just the overall, just unbelievable distraction that he was for this team. They don't have to worry about that anymore. So I think just off of those 3 factors alone, they're going to be a play-in team this upcoming year. And then the last 2 spots, I have Milwaukee and Boston. I'll keep it relatively brief because I want to get to your play-in teams. For Boston, it's Joe Mazzulla. He's going to find a way. I think that if you asked Joe Mazzulla if he can tank, he's going to rattle off some quote about, I like to see death flash before my eyes, or life flash before my eyes on the brink of death, or, you can only feel so alive once you're on the brink of death, and nonsense about if I get into a fight with Jaylen Brown. He's already telling Emmanuel quickly, cursing at him in a preseason game. He's going to will this team to the play-in tournament. I'm a believer in Jaylen Brown first option hoops because I could have sworn this was the best player on the Celtics. I could have sworn this was a top 5 player in the NBA who won finals MVP, who the offense should really go around him anyways, because Jason Tatum is corny and he stat pads and he just wants to be like Kobe and he's not that good, right? So now that Jason Tatum's out the way, I was told all throughout 2023 and 2024 that this was really Jaylen Brown's team and he's the better player. So now this is your perfect opportunity. And it sounds like I'm hating on Jaylen Brown, but I'm not. No, I'm not hating on Jaylen Brown. I'm hating on the media, and that's another rant for another time. But in all seriousness, it doesn't look great that I have to rely on Anthony Simons and Luka Garza. I get it. Speaking of Oregon Ducks, Chris Boucher, you're hoping that he gives you something on the glass to where this team can just float. But on nights where it's going to be Jaylen Brown and Derek White, as long as they stay healthy, they can be a play-in team. Because it's Brad Stevens and Mazzulla, there's flexibility at the deadline that you can get off of Simon's contract if he's not that good. If he is good, it's an added bonus. And we'll get into Jason Tatum, unless you want me to do it now. I can do it after you talk about the play-in. We'll talk about Tatum's injury. But I think Boston will their way to the play-in. And then with Milwaukee, it's the same thing. The supporting cast is still good enough around Giannis to where they won't have to tank. I understand Milwaukee is not in a great spot right now. I still take Milwaukee over Brooklyn. Still take Milwaukee over Charlotte, over Toronto, Chicago, and Washington. Because it's Giannis. Now he has a stretch 5 that's a much more efficient stretch 5 than Brook Lopez. And say what you want about the supporting cast. I was looking it up the other day. you know that the Bucks, like the outside shooters, they led the team. Granted, they weren't shooting as many threes as, let's say, the Boston Celtics, but from a 3-point shooting field goal number, they're shooting at the highest clip in the league last year. They were shooting at 39.5%, or they were shooting like at 40% from three. So yeah, we love to clown on Kyle Kuzma. I understand. He's still my bubble goat. I will defend him till, I need to stop defending him. But I think that where they are this year, as long as they can keep Giannis and not trade him, then they will be a play-in team. And those are the 4 play-in teams. I'm very animated about my play-in teams.
This is good though. This is good.
I'm animated about my play-in teams.
I'm only animated about 2 of my play-in teams, so we'll get into it. The teams, we're only different Miami and Indiana, because I've already said I have both of them out. I do have I'm not saying these are play-in teams, but I do have Milwaukee and Boston in the playoffs, but they aren't play-in teams. So again, I'm with you on both of those teams. I might even be higher on the Celtics than you are this year, to be honest. But number 10, I've got the Charlotte Hornets there, and there will be playoff basketball in Charlotte next year, but this season. Okay. Number 9, I've got the Raptors. Darko Rajakovic. Do you even know who that is?
I do. He's a heck of a coach.
I still have no, he's not. I still have to look up.
Everybody loves him in Toronto.
But he's not the roster that they have. This is my thing with Toronto. The roster that they have is too good for them to be as bad as they were last year. This team needs, I get it. Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram. Some of these guys are younger too. I get it. But to me, this roster is built. If let's put it this way. Let's play games since you like the coaches. Do you think that roster is better right now than what Indiana has on paper? With no Halliburton, no Miles Turner. Is that roster from top to bottom better than Indiana?
Yeah.
Okay, so why then do I need to accept that roster should not finish above them, even though Rick Carlisle is a better coach than Darko Rajakovic? And that is why I think he's going to get fired during the season. They will get a new coach bump, just like every team does when they fire a coach.
What do you think, like Steve Nash? Like a Steve Nash, let's come back to Canada, build that reputation back up?
That to me would be amazing. What a story that would be. Coach gets fired, Sparks are running Toronto. They get into the play-in as a 9 seed, but they do not make the playoffs. At number 8, I've got Philly. I've got the 76ers in as the 8 seed, and at 7, I've got the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta, I think, could be a team that is somewhat frisky. I think there's this weird dynamic of they were a lottery team last year, but no one really feels like they're a team coming off the lottery. I think Trae Young's situation might get a little complicated, though, because they just said they weren't going to agree to this extension, at least for now. I think you have to keep him in there. I think Trae Young is extremely underrated. And so I do like him in this situation, and I like him as a 7 seed. I just think the 6 teams above Atlanta are going to be just a little too good. I've got Atlanta beating Philly in the 7-8 matchup to match up with the 2 seed. I've got amazing pull for this, Jacob. You're going to love this, okay? I'm going to look in the camera for this one. Charlotte goes to Philly in the final play-in game spot. Kyle Neptune, as the assistant coach, returns to the city of Philadelphia after being wronged by Villanova and all those other Philly haters.
He was wronged by Villanova?
Wronged by Villanova. It's what Nick Saban said on College Game Day about James Franklin. It was unfair as hell what they did to my boy Neptune in Villanova, okay? He comes back. Him and Charles Lee coaching masterclass in Philly. Embiid sent off crying. The whole thing gets blown up again, and the Hornets get playoff basketball. They get playoff basketball. They're going to get 2 games. That's it. They'll get 2 games in Charlotte because they're going to get swept, but they will get 2 games. Ryan Kalkbrenner is basically baby Brooke Lopez. Amazing win protector. Yep. I'm not even worried about it. Conklin Nipple is going to be on a Rookie of the Year ballot. It's going to go to Cooper. It's whatever. I guess dive into that. Injury.
Sure.
Khan's going to be there, okay? Brandon Miller, major game. LaMelo plays 70 games this year. That's my prediction. That team gets in the playoffs. They host 2 games in Charlotte, and they get absolutely belted, but that's okay.
I'm hoping that happens. I really am, because of the environment, because North Carolina is such an underrated hoop state. Man, could you get like Eric, who's the broadcaster, Eric Collins? Could you imagine just a regular season that they make the playoffs from Eric Collins? It's going to be amazing. Like I am hopeful that you are correct. And I think to an extent you will be in due time.
I feel good.
In due time you will be. Never, I will tell you this next season, never wrong just early. You think it's this year, I think it's next year, but never wrong just early. Just early. Can I give you my 30 seconds on Jason Tatum?
Yes.
The Boston Celtics are going to need the draft pick that comes with a less successful season without rushing Jason Tatum back than the playoff experience or making the playoffs if you rush him back. I'm nervous, Jordan. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm nervous. How can you not be? Videos of him dunking. This is a modern medical miracle, and this is just a science breakthrough, and he's dunking, and he's going to be the fastest athlete to ever come back from a torn Achilles, and this is just going to be remarkable. And he's, plus 1800 to win the MVP because he's just going to come back by January and go scorched earth, and it's just going to be ridiculous. And then what happens? He pops tears his ACL the first play that he comes back because he rushed, because it looked great, and then they rushed him back. They are going to need the draft capital and the draft pick to pair with Tatum and Brown that comes from this next year's draft. If they're picking in the 10 to 15, 17 range, then I understand that that's probably not going to happen. I'll even take the 15th overall pick, the 16th overall pick, and revamp. They've been playing into May for the last decade. They're going to need the rest. It's similar to like the Kansas City Chiefs, where they just look rusty to start the year every year because a lot of teams are just more ahead of them when it comes to the offseason preparation. It's the same thing with the Celtics. I'm nervous about it. If he's 200% cleared, can you just wait till post All-Star break to see what the Celtics record looks like? Because if everything pans out and, oh my goodness, Peyton Pritchard is like is a fringe All-Star player, and Derek White and Jaylen Brown are killing it, and Missoula masterclass, and Tatum's healthy, sure. But if they're hovering around the 9-10 seed come Christmas, there's no need to rush him back.
I hear you. I do hear you. I think part of this is a testament, though, to Jason Tatum, how hard he works. He's just a pro. He's all business. It's just, it doesn't feel like he's going to miss this year. In my predictions, I'll get into mine. I've got, because they're my 6 seed, so I'll go ahead and level that one out.
Yep.
I've got Boston at 6. I think that team is built to shoot a ton of threes. I think this is a season where they're going to win games by 30. They're going to lose big games by 30. It's just going to be the box score is going to be all over the place. But I think they'll be consistent enough with Missoula to get out of the play-in and be in a situation where, hey, depending on our first round matchup, if this is post All-Star break, JT looks good. This team is kind of rocking anyways. Let's just ease them back into the lineup. Let's give them 10 to 15 minutes a night. We'll bump that to 25. We'll bump that to 30. But if they're in a situation where, hey, are we matched up with Cleveland in the first round? I mean, and Jason Tatum's healthy, and Jaylen Brown is rocking, and Peyton Pritchard, and Chris Boucher, and Derek White, like everything's clicking. It's frisky, but they're a team that I trust. They're a coach that I trust. And I think that, to your point, talking about them needing rest, I get it. But the only 2 players, there might be other guys on the team, and you're going to know the roster better than me. The only 2 players that have been playing into May and June for the last decade is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I trust Jaylen Brown's health. I'd have no reason to not trust his health. Jason Tatum is getting his break. Now, it's rehab, but it's not a full stretch of an 82-game season. Peyton wasn't there the whole time. D. White wasn't there the whole time. Q wasn't there the whole time. So it's like, you've got rookies. Hugo Gonzalez looks great.
Boucher,
you got it.
Fireman, Keita. My hope with the Boston Celtics, and one of the reasons why it's going to be a really exciting year for them, is because I think this is a really good opportunity for some of the youngins to now get a lot of exposure and experience. Could you imagine, regardless of what happens this year, going into 26-27, and you know what you have from Baylor Shireman, you know what you have from Jordan Walsh, you know what you have from Hugo Gonzalez. That makes the Celtics, like, could you imagine if Baylor Shireman turns out to like actually be a rotational player on an NBA championship contender? That's the positive about what this year can provide. But I don't know. It's hard without your top dog. And if your top dog comes back and doesn't immediately click, I don't think that there needs to be any overreaction. Similar to Indiana looking ahead to 26-27, we don't need to rush anything when it comes to the Boston Celtics this upcoming season.
I strongly disagree. Don't rush JT back. I think
you
Boston
think they
could
compete for an Eastern Conference championship this year?
I do. I honestly do.
Yeah.
Who's the
a that's lot? My thing. There's so much that's going to have to go right for them. You can't lose Jaylen Brown or Derek White to injury at all. if they tweak an ankle and one of them's out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're playing a lot of catch up basketball. And I just think that like so much is going to have to go right. We're banking on Chris Boucher, Keita, and Luka Garza. Like that front court is not
You got
inspiring
Amari
at
Williams
all.
too in the draft, though. I like Amari Williams a lot out of Kentucky.
I do too, but
what you're doing is you're trying to set yourself up to not get your hopes up. I know what you're doing. I can say this impartially that the Boston Celtics should be a play-in team this year, and I'm not going to be surprised if they win a round. I have them winning a round in the NBA in the playoffs this year.
They get to the second round. I will come on here and tip my cap and say I was wrong 1,000%. And I would not be more pleased to come on here and say that I'm wrong. I know that you mentioned that they're your 6th seed. Do you want me to tell you what I have for my play-in results before you get to the rest of your 1 through 6?
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there. So I have Boston over Milwaukee in the 7-8 matchup. I have Miami beating Indiana in the 9-10 matchup. So that pits Milwaukee versus Miami for that 8 seed, and then I have Milwaukee capturing that 8 seed. So I'm going to have Milwaukee at the 8, Boston at the 7, and then we'll get through 1 through 6.
Go ahead. Keep it up.
So the New York Knicks will get the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference next season. They're not my pick to come out of the East, but I do think that they're going to be the 1 seed at the end of the season. There is no perfect time for them to be the 1 seed other than right now. You have Mike Brown. You no longer have Tom Thibodeau. You don't have to worry about lack of bench depth getting any action, the wear and tear on the starting 5 and how many minutes that they're going to be averaging every game. Karl-Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, potential MVP campaign, or at least top 5, finishing in the top 5 of the MVP votes. You have what we all think is, I'd like to think we all think will be a Mitch Robinson breakout campaign. And this seems to be a culmination of everything that's happened leading up to this point. Could we get the return of really great New York Knicks basketball, something that we haven't seen since before me and you were born, where they're a consistent 53 to 55 win team, 50 win team? Can we get them to be a 50 win consistent basketball franchise? I think the answer is yes. So they're my 1. I have Cleveland at the 2. I think that they have learned a lot from the failure of last year, but it's not like they lost in the second round to the Orlando Magic or this is different in my mind from when Philadelphia lost to Atlanta and then Atlanta ended up losing in the conference finals anyways. They lost to a team that was arguably a torn Achilles away from an NBA title. I think Tyrese was going to dice him up in that game 7, and I think Indiana was going to win had he not gotten hurt. So if New York ended up losing to the eventual champion, that's a better pill to swallow than losing to the Atlanta Hawks, who ended up flaming out in the conference finals anyways. And I think that is going to be the difference. It's year 2 with Kenny Atkinson. That's what a lot of people are forgetting, is that everything that they did last year to get the 1 seed happened on the back of a first-year head coach. So now you have continuity in year 2, and that's important in this league. No more Ty Jerome playoff hoops. that might sell out a couple of crowds just based off of that alone. And I do think Ty Jerome is a good basketball player. I hate to dog on him, but I do think Cleveland will be right there. They are battle tested. I am looking at Donovan Mitchell. Like I'm doing the Michael Irvin. Listen, nobody believes in you. What are you prepared to do about it? Because it's all the playoff dropper comments in Utah, and then he gets to Cleveland and they lose to the Celtics 2 years ago. They get the 1 seed and lose to the Indiana Pacers. I am hopeful. I'm biased. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. My girlfriend is a Cavs fan. I'm pro Cleveland. If the Cavs have no fans, then I'm no longer on the face of this planet. But I think that a lot is going to go right for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think they're going to have the pressure off of them because the expectation to win the conference resides with the New York Knicks. At the 3 seed, I have the Orlando Magic. The Hospital Magic days, hopefully, are over. You're going to see a lot of progression from Jalen Suggs, and I think that he's going to elevate his game. We're going to get Mo Wagner back. His brother Franz, I think, is going to have a terrific season. I don't know what I'm going to get for Jonathan Isaac. I'd like to think Jace Richardson could provide some pretty strong NBA minutes. I hope that's the case. And Paolo Banchero, it's your boy. Like this is supposed to be the year where he kind of starts to put it all together. And this is your franchise guy. This is going to be the year that they win a round in the playoffs. And I think that that's what's going to happen. But I do have them at the 3 seed. I'm going to tell you the 6 and 5 seed before I get to my 4 seed. 6, I have Detroit. Big believer in Cade Cunningham. I think he's one of the most young, exciting stars in the league. I cannot believe that there was a time in which there was discourse between him and Jalen Green. I thought that that was just blasphemy from the start of it. I loved him ever since he was at Montverde, and then when he went to Oklahoma State, he's been incredible. I think Detroit is going to have a solid year in which they solidify that 6 seed, especially in a weaker Eastern Conference. At the 5 seed, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. I am going to at least put them in the playoffs until Joel Embiid is off the team. This seems to be the last year make or break for him, potentially, depending on how it goes. And the same thing for Paul George. But the three main things is that I'm a big believer in Nick Nurse. I'm a big believer in Tyrese Maxey. And I'm a big believer in Jared McCain. I know he had the thumb issue. Correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like he's going to be fine come, if not opening night, then at least like within the first month of the regular season. And there's too much talent, especially with Quentin Grimes. There's too much talent on this team to where it's the same thing with the Miami Heat. Everything that went wrong last year for Philadelphia everything that could go wrong for Philadelphia last year went wrong for Philadelphia last year. And I'm banking on the fact that it's not going to be another season from hell for the 76ers. Joel Embiid is still an MVP candidate. I don't like the foul baiting. I am critical of Embiid. I am as critical as the next guy when it comes to Joel Embiid. But I still have them as the 5 seed. And then my sleeper team in the Eastern Conference, that's the 4 seed this year, is the Atlanta Hawks. I have them as the 4 seed in this conference. I love Quinn Snyder. If he can get the Utah Jazz to the 1 seed in the West, he can get the Atlanta Hawks to the 4 seed in the East. I love drafting Derek Queen. I thought Nickeil Alexander-Walker was a great addition for this ball club. I love the depth piece. Kristaps Porzingis and Trae Young are in a contract year. They're going to ball out. People that know Kristaps Porzingis know that when he has another contract on the line, he's going to perform. And I think he's going to be a great fit for this Atlanta Hawks team. You got Trae Young motivated by Pat Bev hate, which I'm all for. Whatever fuels, his fire. And I think that the depth pieces are great. Jalen Johnson back from injury. He was such a great, fun young piece to watch, especially in that play-in tournament before he got hurt. Or I'm sorry, the NBA in-season tournament. Dyson Daniels off of an all-defensive team. Luke Kennard, Ricochet, I am all over the Atlanta Hawks as my sleeper team in the East, and I think they wrap up the 4 seed, and I'm excited. And I just want to recap for you and the listeners the matchups. So I have New York against Milwaukee, Cleveland against Boston, Orlando against Detroit, and Philadelphia against Atlanta as my first round matchups.
Solid. I think the one thing I'm going to get on you about is the belief in Philly and the belief
I get it.
And the belief in Cleveland. I have
Okay.
Cleveland at the 3 seed, but I think it's Donovan's last year in Cleveland no matter what. I don't think unless they win a championship, I don't think it matters. I think it's it. I just think Cleveland has shown now, you're kind of talking about, okay, they get another year. They've shown me twice that they don't have the heart and toughness to compete in the NBA playoffs. It's 2 years now. Look, they lost to the Celtics in 5.
Why are we knocking them for that?
And they lost to the Pacers in 5. It's not losing. It's how you lost it. That team, I think, did not show heart. Donovan's fine. I have no issue with Donovan Mitchell. I think it's the rest of the team that is not that bought in on winning. And that's where I think their hiccup is. They can have Donovan drop 50, and he's going to need 60 to keep them, I think, in a playoff series and actually get past anybody this season. I have them at the 3. I've got the Magic at the 2. I think Paulo's an MVP candidate. I think he's going to be 26, 8-5 on the year. And then at number 1, I've got the Knicks. And I have the Knicks on alert. I think it is on the table that Karl Anthony Towns is traded for LeBron James during the season.
Wow. Whoa.
I do.
That came out of left field.
I think it is on the table that Mitchell Robinson has an amazing season to start this year out, and they look at that and say, you know what? Let's ship Cat. Let's get Braun. The Lakers would do it. I think the Knicks would say, if this is not the year we win an NBA title, it is not going to happen. If this is the year where Milwaukee with Giannis is not what Milwaukee and Giannis should be, the Celtics without Tatum are not going to be what they should be, the Pacers without Halliburton are not going to be what they should be. And if you look at this and say, we can't win the East with Detroit, Atlanta, and Orlando as probably the top contestants, because I'm not buying Cleveland stock. I got them in a 3 seed. They'll be solid, but playoff time, I don't think they're really in the mix. I think the Knicks look at this and say, okay, you know what? Let's just, this is it. This is Sean McVay and the Rams saying, F them picks, bro. We're done with the future. We don't care. We do not care what Cat is.
Sure.
The Cat has a lot more years of playing basketball than LeBron James probably does, although
Yeah.
we don't know that for sure. I think
Yeah.
it's on the table that they make that trade. LeBron's not going to be asked to defend. He's going to literally be asked, can you come in, give Brunson some time off from having to handle this basketball the entire game for 42 minutes? He can come in. I think it's on the table. It is on the table. And if LeBron goes to the Knicks for one more run, then I might have to change my 2 to my champion. But I think regardless, the Knicks will be the 1 seed. I've got the Magic at the 2, Cavs at the 3. I think Donovan's done no matter what after the season. At the 4, I've got Detroit basketball, baby. Okay, the Pistons, I'm completely up on them this year. Cade Cunningham, Paulo Banchero are low-key going to turn in the faces of the Eastern Conference, and they're going to be battling out. And at the 5 seed, I got the Bucks, and then, like I said earlier, I've got the Celtics at the 6 seed.
Okay. Why? Let me ask you. Why Milwaukee at the 5 seed? That's pretty high than what a lot of people are giving them.
I like Atlanta for all the reasons that you've said. I still think there's an element of Giannis is just Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
Philly, I'm out on. And if I'm Philly,
Why are you out on Philly?
If I'm Philly, I would honestly see if I could trade Joel Embiid and Paul George. I would blow it up and say, I've got Maxey and McCain. I'm selling my soul for these 2 right now. What can I turn that?
VJ Edgecombe? Like, yeah.
They've got guys. Just say, you know what? Look, we tried the process. It didn't work with Embiid, but we're going to try it again. And I would be all for it. And then I think if that's the situation, Nick Nurse buys himself time, Morey buys himself time, and just say, look, this has clearly not worked with Embiid. I don't know why we brought Paul George in the first place. Get rid of both of them. See what you can turn it into. Yeah. And in my opinion, I think, look, I really like Maxey. I think he is one of the best guards in the Eastern Conference. I think McCain is going to end up becoming one of those types of people. If you can go get either a ton of draft picks to build around them and have to hit in the draft, do what OKC did, see if you can piece that together and figure it out. If I'm Philly, I just don't think it's going to work with Embiid and Paul George. Paul George is already missing games. He didn't even started yet. He's already missing games. What is he injured from? It's just a constant thing with both of them. So that, as your question, why Milwaukee is up that spot, I like them above Atlanta simply because of Giannis. I do like Kuzma. I think Miles Turner is not being talked about that addition. I think that is a huge addition.
Right.
Philly, I'm out on. And then after that point, I mean, I'm not taking Toronto, Charlotte, Miami, I'm not taking any of those teams over Milwaukee. And I think that 4 of New York, Orlando, Cleveland, Detroit have set themselves up to be kind of that next tier. And then Boston comes in at 6 because I'm big with Missoula and what they have. And then everybody else falls in line there. For my playoffs then, with how that shakes out, first round matchup, Knicks versus the Hornets, Magic versus Hawks, Cavs versus Celtics, and Pistons versus Bucks, round 1. That is a movie set of a round 1 matchups.
Yes, it is.
You want to? I'll just.
You want to do full? Yeah.
I'll just go. Okay. Knicks Hornets. Knicks in 4. It's in Charlotte. This will be the best season that they've ever had. It's been. This is what they do. Their best years have just been to the playoffs and get swept. Besides 1 year, they lost at one Kimba year. I have to give them credit. Okay, 1 Kimba year, they did lose in 7 to the Heat in the first round of the playoffs. That was the year, if you remember, that was like Pacers and Hornets both got out to like 13-3 starts, and then Charlotte completely fell off and they lost in 7 to the Heat. Magic versus Hawks. I've got Magic in 6. Paulo big time in that playoff series. Cavs Celtics. I've got Celtics in 6. I think Cleveland has another filibuster, and this is just
imagine
over.
Oh man,
over.
They lose to the Celtics. Yeah, there might be,
because at that point, if that's the situation, you and me right now, truthfully, if that's the situation, Cavs versus Celtics in April, and the Celtics roll out Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, who are you going to take? At that point, I'm like, I'm taking the Celtics. Pistons, Bucks. I've got Detroit. over Milwaukee in 5. I think it'd be a
Yeah.
gentleman's sweep. And then from that point, that gives us the Knicks versus the Pistons and the Magic versus the Celtics. I have Orlando beating Boston in 7. Crazy game at the Amway Center. Play the music. Orlando Magic. Orlando Magic. Detroit and Cade have an absolute thriller in the Garden, and they beat the Knicks in 7 at
I
Madison
would
Square
love that.
Garden.
I would love that so much. I would love that so much.
Paulo,
That would be one of the best hate watches of all time.
it would be great. It would be fantastic.
It would be great.
The place would be it would be rocking.
They get their get back after last year. Oh,
yeah,
forget about
and
it.
they had it. They were right there with them last
They
year.
were.
I thought they
They were
played
right
fantastic
there.
against them.
Yep.
Detroit versus Orlando, Eastern Conference Finals. The first of many Paulo Banchero versus Cade Cunningham Eastern Conference Finals.
Detroit Orlando would just be amazing basketball, and I just want to tip my cap for you giving me hope when it comes to my sport. Keep going.
And I'm going to take the Magic in
Wow.
7.
Basketball wins if that's the case. Who cares who comes out the East?
And that is where that seeding is going to play a huge role
Wow.
with the Magic at 2, Detroit at 4, getting Game 7 back in Orlando. So I've got Paulo with 2 magnificent Game 7 performances to get Orlando to the NBA Finals this year, and he solidifies himself as a legit top 5 player in the NBA.
I was about to say that's going to get him into the conversation of top 10 definitively. Like I love that. Tip of the cap.
I think he's got a Shea type year coming up. I do. I think he has a Shea-esque year with not maybe as much scoring, but more playmaking ability and rebounding.
If that supporting cast around him is healthy, he will. He will get this team. I have them in the second round of the playoffs. Like he will get that program. I keep saying that program. I'm in a college basketball mood myself. He will get that franchise to unbelievable heights if that core around him stays healthy. And I think he will. And they got KCP off the team. And we didn't even mention Desmond Bain coming in. And I thought that's probably the most underrated. It's a huge get, and not a lot of people are talking about it.
They paid a lot.
You know what?
But
you're Orlando. Go pay that price.
And if they go to the finals, nobody's going to remember it. And nobody's going to
exactly.
So go for it. All right, you give me yours.
Yeah, so I have New York over Milwaukee in 5. I think Giannis gets them a game, but I think New York takes care of business. It's going to be a close 5. I don't think New York's going to win a single game in that series more than 10 points, more than 15 points. But they're going to get it done in crunch time. I just trust New York crunch time basketball over Milwaukee. I have Cleveland over Boston in 6. I'm downplaying Boston this year. Part of that is I just don't want to get my hopes up. I'm just trying to be realistic about the time frame in which Tatum comes back off of the Achilles injury. I think Cleveland gets Boston in 6. I'm going to be annoyed. I'm going to roll my eyes. Claire's going to talk crap to me about how Boston wasn't that good. I know what the Cleveland response is going to be. And I just see me in 2026. I have Orlando over Detroit in 6. I have Orlando and Detroit in that first round matchup. We just have different stages for our matchup. I think it's a terrific 6. Yes, sir.
Is that the 4-5 for you? Okay. All right.
No. It's the 3-6. It's the 3-6. Yes, it's my 3-6 matchup. I have Orlando over Detroit in 6. I have Philadelphia over Atlanta in 7. I think Philadelphia.
Embiid gets get back. They get back for Trae Young.
Embiid gets get back. And it's a great year for Atlanta, especially with where they are. If they lose a 4-5 matchup in 7, then I still think that is a terrific season for the Atlanta Hawks. I'm going to believe in Philadelphia. Maybe it's just the fact that I live here. Maybe I'm just a little bit biased. I'm going to believe in Philadelphia until Embiid is off the basketball team. I'm not going to believe in them to make a finals run, but I'm going to believe in them to get past the first round. In my semifinals, I have Cleveland over Orlando in 7. I think it's a hard-fought 7-game series. When it comes down to this matchup, Paolo is a heck of a talent, but it's Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and Evan Mobley. The hope is that Garland is going to be a lot healthier going into the playoffs than he was last year. I still trust Mobley as a perennial DPOY candidate, as somebody that is a rim protector that can stymie a lot of these bigs in the Eastern Conference. And I believe in Donovan Mitchell. I understand what happened in Utah. I understand that they lost a hard-fought battle last season, and Indiana, it was the Demon Pacers. I totally get it. I totally understand. I believe in Cleveland this season. I'm stamping it. I have I'm co-signing the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. And then I have New
First,
York.
here's the thing on that one, because I just wanted to throw
Yeah.
this in there.
Yeah.
We've done this with Cleveland and Orlando 2 years ago,
Yes.
and that went 7.
Yes.
I don't think Cleveland's better than that Cleveland team was then, and Orlando's
I
way
do.
better now than what they are.
I agree with you about Orlando. I think Cleveland is just as good.
Fair play.
I think Cleveland is just as good. I think Donovan Mitchell, this has to be the year. Do I feel great about putting my money on the Philadelphia 76ers and Donovan Mitchell? No, but I'm going to do it anyways. And then I have New York over Philadelphia. Embiid fails to get to the conference finals again in his career. New York is just simply that much better. I have New York over Philadelphia in 5. I think they smack them. I don't think it's close. I think the games may be close. You're going to have a couple games, and then I think there's just going to be one big blowout. I think Brunson's at another level, and I think this sets up a really entertaining Cleveland, New York Eastern Conference Finals. And I understand that's chalk. I understand it's chalk. I totally understand. I'm taking Cleveland over New York. Cleveland gets to the NBA Finals.
What?
This is their first NBA Finals appearance without LeBron in franchise history. They do it because it's Kenny Atkinson, because it's Donovan Mitchell, because it's Evan Mobley. It's going to be a healthy Darius Garland. No more Ty Jerome playoff minutes on my team. And in a down Eastern Conference year, with the adversity that they faced in the past, they are going to represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. But here's the thing, Jordan. Here's the thing. When Virginia went from losing when Virginia, stay with me on this, when Virginia lost to UMBC in the first round of the NCAA tournament in 2018, and they followed that up with winning the whole thing the very next season.
Ty Jerome was on that team.
You said what?
Ty Jerome was on that team.
Ty Jerome was on that team. It kind of just, I don't know, gave me an unhealthy perception of the redemption story. And I'm taking the Cleveland Cavaliers redemption story because, and we'll get to this. And we didn't talk about this, so I'm glad we're talking about this. I need this clip on TikTok. I am not a Mike Brown believer at all. I'm sorry. I understand Tibbs had his wear and tear on the starting 5. I get it. Mike Brown is a downgrade as a head coach over Tom Thibodeau. They should not have hired Mike Brown. Should they have fired Tom Thibodeau? I guess, sure. Mikal Bridges was whining about playing too many minutes in the regular season in February, so Tibbs had to go. Sure, I get it. Tibbs could only elevate you to a certain point. I get it. You're at this level. Mike Brown is going to be the reason why you go from here to here. It's not going to happen. Mike Brown is suited for the Sacramento Kings and those type of positions where you need to take struggling franchises and elevate them into perennial playoff contenders. Mike Brown is not going to be the reason why the Knicks go from an Eastern Conference Finals appearance to winning the NBA championship or even making the NBA Finals. I am not a Mike Brown believer. I hope this comes back to bite me. I'm totally down for it to come back to bite me. But if you're giving me an opportunity to bet on Kenny Atkinson and Donovan Mitchell or Mike Brown, I'm going to pick Kenny Atkinson because we saw what happened with Mike Brown in Los Angeles. And I understand that the Knicks are different than the Dwight Howard Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not buying Mike Brown whatsoever. I think he's a good coach. Mike Brown on any of the teams that missed the Eastern Conference in the East would be a tremendous hire. Not for the New York Knicks.
Why in the world did you pick Cleveland to go to the NBA Finals? Is LeBron going there? Now, look, I'm with you because I think LeBron gets traded this year, and he's going to Cleveland or he's going to New York. So if LeBron goes back to Cleveland, I'm there with you, bro. I'm there with you. If LeBron goes back to Cleveland, but this Cleveland team is not going to the NBA Finals, man.
I picked the Cleveland Cavaliers because I don't think Orlando will handle the lights quite yet. They're almost there.
You better put some respect on Paulo's name.
Yeah, but he hasn't even sniffed the Eastern. Has he won a playoff series?
Bro, he took Cleveland to 7
I don't care.
2 years ago.
Raise the banner at the Amway Center. Okay, raise that banner. They took the Cleveland Cavaliers to 7 games in the first round. He has yet to
2
win a
years
playoff
ago.
series.
2 years ago.
And then what happened last year? They lost in the first round again.
How many series wins does Donovan Mitchell have in the Eastern Conference? How many more? How many more than Paolo does he have?
Hey, one's better than zero.
That's it. One. So we're gonna take a Don. So
but
you're
Cleveland,
telling me,
but Paolo lost to the Cavs. Paolo lost to the Cavs. The Cavs lost to who came out of the East and almost won the NBA championship. That's a lot different. I don't expect Paolo to go from 0 playoff wins to the NBA Finals. If it happens, I'm proud of him. But you saw what happened with Indiana Pacers. They got to the conference finals before they lost to the Celtics and then responded by getting to the finals the following season. I'm not picking Atlanta because I just, no, I'm not picking Atlanta. Philadelphia, I think they can be a playoff team, but they're not going to come out of the East. Detroit, not yet. It's the same thing. Detroit, it's steps to greatness. It's what Giannis said. You have to take steps to greatness. And so this comes down, in my opinion, to, now granted, is Orlando capable? 100%. It's a down year in the East. If you tell me in 6 months that the Orlando Magic I'll be shocked, but I'm not going to be like, oh my God, everybody else. So I'm not going to do that. To me, this comes down to, and I know it's chalk, I think 3 through 10, it's up in the air. I think 1 and 2 is going to be New York and Cleveland, and this comes down to Mike Brown versus the field, and I am not picking Mike Brown to get this team to the NBA Finals. I'm just not. There's too much that happened in Sacramento, there's too much that happened in Cleveland, and there's too much that happened in LA that gives me the confidence that he's going to take this team to the NBA championship. The pressure is going to be on. They have to make it to at least the conference finals. They're the betting favorite to come out of the East, and it's Mike Brown. I'm not doing it. I'm not taking that bait. I'm just not taking that bait.
This feels more like you are just against the Knicks, that you don't actually believe in Cleveland that much. You just don't believe in New York.
No, so I believe in Donovan Mitchell.
That's saving you.
Who do I believe in more, Donovan Mitchell or Mike Brown? I'm picking Donovan Mitchell.
But neither one of them should even be
in the conversation. Is Rick Brunson still on the team? I'm not doing it. If Rick Brunson is still on my coaching staff, Rick Brunson and Rick Brunson and Mike Brown? No.
You know who's got the best staff in the East outside of Boston?
Cleveland.
Charlotte. Charles Lee. Kyle Neptune. Shout out Buzz City.
Rick Brunson is terrible, and Jalen Brunson is a heck of a Jalen. I don't know. I'm not going to say Rick Brunson's terrible. Rick Brunson is terrible. I'm going to stand by it. Rick Brunson, I don't think is that good of an assistant coach, and we're expecting it to be Rick Brunson and Mike Brown gets this team to the finals. No. You don't even have New York. You don't even have New York coming out of the East.
I don't have either.
This is really just Cleveland versus Orlando. Orlando needs to win a playoff series before I pick them to represent the Eastern Conference.
I don't even have. I have the Knicks. I have the Knicks beating the Hornets. That's the only playoff series I give New York this year. And that's
does Paolo Banchero have an outside shot? Like, let's get an outside shot before we start talking about Eastern Conference.
That's why you got Desmond Bane.
You're right. Boom. You're right. Yeah. So my East Coach of the Year.
After all that. Insert cap. Yeah. After all that, who's your coach of the year?
It's a total smokescreen. But the Eastern Conference coach of the year is going to be Mike Brown, and he's going to get it, and then he's going to lose in the conference finals. The reason why it's because they already gave it to Kenny Atkinson, and the coach of the year is going to go to a top 2 team in either conference. So they're not going to give it to Kenny Atkinson. So they're probably going to Mike Brown is going to be the favorite. I hope it's Jamal Mosley. A lot of people are out on him. They're not a big Jamal Mosley fan. I get it. I mean, but I don't think he's that bad. Long story short, I have here on my notes, Coach of the Year, Mike Brown in parentheses, and it's a total smokescreen. Because they have to give it to a top 2 seed.
I'm with you. My actual coach of the year, if I was to pick somebody, and this shakes out the way I think it's going to shake out, is actually I would pick Charles Lee as the coach of the year.
Yeah, 100%.
Or Joe
100%.
Mazzulla, depending on how Boston turns out.
Mazzulla, Quinn Snyder, but yeah, I'm with you.
But given how the NBA shakes out, it's usually whoever has the best record in the league. And so with the Knicks, I have as a 1 seed by default, it's Mike Brown. But in no way, shape, or form, I think does anybody think Mike Brown is the best coach in the NBA.